I'm Chris, I'm alcoholic, so it's all over there for recording purposes. Yes, thank you everyone for letting me be here to share my experience with you. Like Brad said, we have known each other for a long time. This is actually really special to me right now because in this room there are a lot of people that have helped me. It's including Brad, Stelio, Caleb, Don, even Natalie in the corner there hiding away. You guys have all helped me in my recovery, and it's actually really awesome for me to be here still to this day, sober. And it hasn't been easy. It's been a difficult road, but it's been worth it. I came into recovery, my first attempt at recovery was hopeless. I was doing it half measures like the book says. I didn't take the suggestions that big man Brady was giving me. He told me to get on my knees, he told me to pray. He told me to go attend meetings, to find a sponsor, and I didn't do any of that. I thought, you know what, I'll do it my way. And I kept on relapsing. And my final relapse was in September 2016, and that relapse I couldn't get up again. I couldn't stop. It was a continuous use of drugs and alcohol. I know this is AA, but I did use drugs as well. I relapsed in Switzerland on a preempted plan to go to Vegas and use again and never stop again. That was my plan, my idea. Little did I know that I still don't know anything. So when I got to Vegas, I went on my last big debaucherous escapade where I couldn't stop drinking and using, and for the last 4 months I couldn't stop using and drinking. Brad had started helping me from February of that year. I kept on relapsing and using, and Brad had a lot of patience with me. He kept on trying to help me, and I think a lot of the times I'd phone him or WhatsApp him pissed, and he'd be like, oh, there we go again, you know. But that wasn't my first attempt at recovery. My first attempt at recovery when I was 16, 16. My high school had forced me into going into a rehab. They gave me a choice. Either they expel me or I go into an outpatient program at a treatment center. And I landed up in hospital for a psychotic episode. I spent about 6 days in this hospital for like a mental breakdown. I was hallucinating, hearing things, and the doctor said, they called it, I had a social disorder. They labeled me with this social disorder, which I didn't really understand at the time. So I made a decision to go into this outpatient program at this treatment center and do their program, you know. And I failed that year, and it was difficult that year for me because I also lost my sister in a car accident, and my sister and I were really close. We were best friends, and it was hard to deal with that. My parents had to deal with something as well. It was really hard for them. I mean, losing a child is probably the most difficult thing anybody can go through. And as an alcoholic, I made everything about myself. You know, I lost a sister. Ooh, you know, and it was something that was that I struggled to deal with. And just thinking back now, I cannot imagine what my parents must have gone through. You know, my dad is an alcoholic, a functioning alcoholic, call it that, because it hasn't made his life unmanageable. But I can see from his behavior that he is one. My parents have tried their best to raise me the best they could. You know, I didn't come from a wealthy family. My dad and mom worked hard for what they've got today. We were poor when we were growing up. I always say to my son, I had like 2 or 3 cars. He's got a whole box of cars, you know, and it's unbelievable how, and this is what my dad has given us. My dad and mom have given us a great life. And the funny part about everything is that my dad was one of my biggest resentments. I couldn't deal with not growing up with a father. He didn't make the time for me to kick a ball. He didn't make the time for me to spend any quality time with me. My mom was a doting mother. She looked after me. She tried her best. But at the same time, this resentment carried with me for a long time, for a very long time. And I hold this grudge, and I always thought this was, you know, this is not right, you know, it's not the way things should be. And the funny part was when I was about 19, I was 21, and I landed up in hospital again for a nervous breakdown, and I think if I think about it now, it was a weed psychosis. I was hallucinating, hearing things again, and they put me into a hospital to try and sort out my brain. My brain was fried. They called it a chemical imbalance. Diagnosed me with schizophrenia. They put me on a lot of meds, and yeah, I was spent 2 weeks in hospital. And by the grace of God, my dad actually saved my life those 2 weeks while I was there. He said to me, no ways is he listening to a psychiatrist. He pulled me out and he said, come, I'm going to get you a job. And he got me a job as an assistant truck driver, and I worked there for about 6-7 months, full on meds. I was just as mad as I was in hospital as I was in this truck. This Afrikaans guy had a lot of patience with me, and that part of that journey, actually, I needed to do that. I needed to get that to understand what was going on for me. I eventually stopped all the meds, and I found my drug of choice. And that drug of choice was almost identical to what meds I was taking, these uppers. And you know, it was a weird scenario. Some of our old friends, I was always the drunk of the friends, you know, the guy that was pissed all the time. They used to call me Piss Chris. And it was, they used to also get irritated with me and frustrated with me, so they would, the one night they still stuck this drug up my nose and they said, sniff it, you know, and I did. And I fell in love with that drug. It was my first love, and besides alcohol. And I thought I could stop it, and I thought, no, I don't have a problem with this. It's not addictive, man. Anybody can stop this stuff. And I never really wanted it, but I got into it, and I loved it. And so between my drugs of choice and my alcohol, I was in heaven. That was my only way to get outside of myself, was by taking drugs and alcohol. Because at the end of the day, I had a problem with dealing with life on life's terms. I had a problem with dealing with my feelings and my emotions. I didn't know how to deal with my emotions like a normal person. And this started from a very young age, and this is how I can tell you I'm an alcoholic without being on drugs or alcohol. There's something wrong with me if I don't have something outside of me to make myself feel better. And today I have that. Today I have the hope of Alcoholics Anonymous, I have the fellowship, I have my sponsor, and this gives me hope. But before I forget to mention, I have this woman that's sitting next to me on my right. If anybody knows the story about Bill and Louise, this is my Louise. She has been through thick and thin with me. We've been together for about 11 years. I've only been in proper recovery for about 2 years. So she has been through hell and back with me. She's probably had the patience of an angel. She has enabled me a hell of a lot, but she stopped that. Eventually she stopped that. You know, I think she stood her own ground eventually, and I still remember the night I started phoning Brad, and I said, listen, I need help, I need help. And then he gave me Caleb's number. I think Megan spoke to Caleb, and I was just too out of it to even know what was going on. And in my state, I still booked a plane ticket on my phone, and then when we got to the airport the next day, there was no plane ticket. So I bought another plane ticket. And I was high at the time. I took my drugs of choice with me through the airport, onto the aeroplane, flew over to the house on the hill, and a counsellor named Josh said to me, I asked him, please can I have one more before I go in? He said, no, your time is gone now. And I needed that as well. I couldn't carry on in a big house full of addicts. You know, that doesn't make any sense. And I eventually got to that place where I needed to, and funny enough, before I got into Cedars, my rock bottom had happened already, and I didn't even identify it as a rock bottom, so I had no idea what a rock bottom was, because I think I've had so many in my life. I had so many consequences of using. I've had car accidents, I've fallen off a balcony from the height of there, on the top there, I've fallen off the balcony, because I was so pissed and I thought I'd be a funny joke, and I nearly broke my neck. Luckily somehow I didn't break my back, but I was okay. It was utter madness. I was in the insanity of alcoholism for a long time, and the denial was thick, and I could never identify with what my problem was. I always thought Megan was the problem, so I needed to get rid of her, because she had a problem with me drinking, so that's the problem. We've been through a hell of a lot. We've actually broken up. We were about 4 or 5 years together, and we broke up. It's probably the hardest time of my life. Besides losing my sister, that was also the hardest time of my life. My heart was broken. Her heart was broken. But we couldn't leave each other. We still stuck around, moping around together in self-pity of note. We were like, "Ooh, what in the world?" All that. It was hilarious if I think about it now. But it was a really hard time for us. And eventually, in my drunken state, we got back together again and we started working on again. And I said, I'll change, I'll try to do things better. I think it lasted like a year, A year. And yeah, I went horribly wrong again. We had a beautiful son together. And I thought, maybe when I have my son, things will change. I'll get better. I won't use drugs and alcohol anymore. It actually made it worse. Because now having been pressures of being a father now and trying to be more responsible, I felt this. So I used alcohol and drugs to numb those feelings of stress and everything. And it was, how can I say, I felt like I was disconnected from my own family. And the only way I could feel connected was by drinking. Like I said, my first love was drugs and alcohol, so I'd always revert back there. And it was so hard for me to let that go. It's so hard to accept that I have a problem. And as much as Brad tried to drill in my head that, listen, you need to do this, you need to do that. I used to say to him, no, I'm going for a beer, no, that's what I'm going to go do. And I think, how many times did you say, no, man? You used to try and talk me off the phone and it wouldn't work. Because I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. And that wasn't my journey. My journey was for me to go into treatment. And I'm so grateful for that treatment center and for everyone there. When I got there, I was very out of it. The first 21 to 28 days, I was not okay. I was still a little bit cooked. And I'm so happy I listened to my sponsor at the time. And he said to me, no, you're not going anywhere. You must stay for the 3 months that we've suggested. And I said, listen, I must go back to work, because I came in this time as well. I came in through December. And I said, no, my plan was to do 28-day special and then go back to work. That was my plan. But if you want to make God laugh, make some plans. That's what, so my sponsor helped me to realize that I need to stay longer, and I did. I stayed a lot longer. I stayed 3 months and a couple of days, and like I say, only in my second month that I start relaxing and start working the steps properly. And it's the first time I ever worked the steps. It was put pen to paper. And that's when the magic started happening. When we putting that pen to paper and, going through step 1 and admitting, my defeat and writing everything down, is realizing the hurts and pain that I've caused Megan and my family. And when I got to about step 4 and 5, I was extremely nervous and extremely fearful to do this step. I had a lot of things hidden and a lot of secrets that I was too scared to admit. I was so scared I didn't even write it down. I just said, I'll just tell him straight up, I'm not going to write it down. I'm scared I'll take this and I'll end up in jail or something. I admitted it to my sponsor, and he's like, oh, all right, fair, nothing. And then I had to come back about 4 or 5 times and do the step 5 again, because I kept on forgetting about things. And eventually I did everything. A thorough step 4 and 5, which was so important for me. I needed to do that because if I think back now, I think it still kept me clean and sober. And I did the full 12 steps in treatment, and while in treatment I was sitting on the balcony where we smoked there and chill out. There's a beautiful tree there and the sun was glaring on it, and I had this immense calm and peace and serenity that I've never had in my life before. It's like this spiritual experience that I've never felt in my life, and I call that my spiritual awakening. And it was amazing. I've never felt this way before, and for once I felt like I had the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders, and I could actually experience treatment the way it should be. And I loved the treatment. I missed it. For my first year, I missed treatment. Yes, I missed it. I thought I've never had so many connections, and like sitting there on the balcony, smoking, talking crap with everybody, it was so awesome. I missed it, and I felt like, yes, I want to go back. Let me go back for another 2-3 months just to chill out. Even if I wash dishes, it's fine. And when I got back out of treatment, that's when the real work started happening. Life and life's terms started working out for me. I struggled with a lot of physical pain, but my first year was hard, as in I had to deal with life on life's terms. Me and Megan, I had to admit my truth to Megan, because I felt that was the right thing to do, and the guidance of my sponsor. He helped me realize this is what I need to do so I can start on a clean street. And in that way, Megan admitted all her truths to me. And it was really hard to deal with in my first year. I had a lot of physical pain, like I said, and I found a new sponsor, and he said to me, he suggested I do the steps again, and I did. I always thought to myself, if whatever my sponsor says to me, it's not a suggestion, it's an instruction, and I will follow that instruction, because that instruction helps me stay clean. And I've learned that through my experience from treatment. And I remember something. We were going on a hike with Stelio the one day, and he still said, we were going on this hike, and I didn't want to go because my best friend was getting married while I was in treatment, and I was really sad about it. And I wanted to just sit in my pity and everything, and my sponsor still said to me, listen, just go on the hike, go against your head. And through that experience in treatment, I do that all the time. I go against my head. If I don't want to go to a meeting, I go to a meeting. If I don't want to do service, I do service. I do service at H&R, I do a lot of service at treatment centres, prisons, and it helps me stay clean. It helps me get outside of myself and help others. I find a lot of relief from that, helping others up. And they speak of the promises like you read, and if I could say, this past year, my second year, all these promises have come true. Some of my wildest dreams have come true. I've married the woman of my dreams. We're actually expecting another child. So we're really excited. We just came on we just did our family moon. We called it our family moon because our son came with. It was amazing. It was a beautiful holiday, and I've experienced so much joy in my recovery that I can't look back at my active addiction. I can go back there again ever. It just feels like I would cut myself short. I always used to say my motto was live life to the fullest, and what I meant by that, live life like a rock star. I wanted to be like a rock star, do drugs, rock and roll, sex, all that shit. That was my motto back in the day. I'm doing it a different way now, and for me this is the real way. This is the true way, and I'm dealing with my emotions. My first year I learned how to deal with my problems. The second year is I'm starting to enjoy life, and I've made good friends like Brad and my other friend Chris. They were my best men at my wedding, and we had a beautiful wedding, and I'm learning to be more independent with myself. Myself and Megan have just applied to buy another house, a bit of a bigger place for our family, because we have a growing family. And these are things that I was too scared to do in active addiction. I was always sitting in the same place, doing the same thing. I never lost the material things in my active addiction, but what I had lost was my soul and my spiritual nature, and I had lost everything, my dignity, my integrity. And I'm getting it slowly back. Slowly but surely, I'm getting everything back. And it's through the grace of God that I sit here completely grateful for everything that has happened in my life so far, and I don't regret it. I don't regret my active addiction, and I'm sure Dan enjoying my recovery, because it's amazing what has happened so far, and I'm very excited for the future. I also get nervous. I'm still very fearful about things, like I was fearful about this meeting, but I still do the things that Don suggested. I get on my knees every day. I pray. I try and meditate. I still struggle with the meditation part because I have a 5-year-old that every 5 minutes, I'm like, yes, Sethi, Daddy, I want to go swim, Daddy, and everything 5 minutes a day. But it's, those are the gifts right there. I'm enjoying the small moments now in life. This morning, me and Sethi were showering in the small little shower where we're staying in this little flat here, and he smacks my bum and goes, Daddy! You got a fat ass! So I get it all the time. So, we have a beautiful way of life now, and I'm so grateful for the fellowship. AA has taught me how to live without taking drugs and alcohol, and the support from my wife. She's been my pillar of strength most of the times. When I don't think I can deal with life on life's term, I have a sponsor and I have a beautiful wife that helps me through these times. And that's what I think life's about. I've always felt if I have something burning inside of my brain, I don't like to let this stuff sit in here anymore. So I blurt it out to my sponsor, and my sponsor is like, ish. He doesn't even know what to say to me sometimes, because he knows it's difficult. Sometimes some things are difficult. And like Don used to say, life is difficult, but it's not hard. And I never could understand what the fuck he meant by that. I'm like, yeah, what the hell are you talking about? But I understand now, it's not hard. It's what you make of it. It's my attitude towards everything. And if I have a good attitude in a bad situation, I can get through it. If my attitude is shit in a good situation, I'm just not going to have a good time. So for me, my attitude is something that I've grown with, and I've learned how to cope with certain things like a nagging son. Because he tests my patience all the time. Yep. I can tell you now, and I haven't touched on what I do for a living, because it's something that's my biggest growth is in what I do for a living. I own my own business. I have about 20 employees. My father started this business and I've taken it over, and I'm very grateful for him, but at the same time, it's not what I'm passionate about. What I'm passionate about is helping others. And I think I've written the exam twice and I failed twice, so I'm a bit of a dumbass, clearly. But it's okay. I remember, take it easy, one day at a time, but I'll try again. When they say you want what your sponsor has, when I was in treatment, I really wanted what he's got, and I want my own treatment center. When I get older, I want to do that, because for me, that is a dream. I want to have a bunch of psychos, that I can help, and I can say that because I am one of them, and it's an amazing part of my journey is to help others, and I find so much joy out of that, and it fills that hole in my soul. It fills that hole so much, and so I think I'm going to end it off there. Thank you guys for listening. I hope I shared some sort of message with you guys, and you guys stick around. All I can say is stick around and wait for the magic to happen, because the magic does happen eventually, and it's amazing when you have the patience just to sit and let it happen. So yeah, thank you for letting me share.
Awesome.